Welcome back to Rubbing Minds. Now, our final segment focuses on something that we all want. Owo, kudi, ego, na money, owo ni koko. So, going into 2024, what are your plans for your money? Are you planning to save? Are you planning to invest? Are you planning to add multiple streams of income? What's your plan in light of all the economic realities? Or maybe even jackpot is there and you need to save up for that. Now, I'm joined by an investment analyst who's also the COO of Money Africa and Ladder in the person of Adedayo Bakari. Welcome to Rubbing Minds.
Thanks for having me on the show.
So 2024, Owo ni koko. What is that number one resolution, if you did make resolutions for you concerning money?
I think for me, 2024 is basically going to follow the path we've seen in 2023. So it's going to be another challenging year for Nigerians who are based in Nigeria. And so the priority for me is growing my income to ensure that, it outpaces inflation. So inflation basically means the rise in the, prices of goods and services that consumers, people like us, will typically buy. And prices have been going up by around 28% throughout 2023. In 2024, we might see a moderation, but it's still going to be around 25 to 30%. And so that means if you want to ensure that you maintain your standard of living or the quality of your life, then you must be targeting a situation where your income is growing faster or at the same pace, as inflation. Or at the worst case, then that means you have to aggressively cut down on your expenses. And we don't want to do that.
Now, I was kind of hoping for some good news. Earlier on in the program, we spoke about, the economic situation in Nigeria, and there was no good news. It was like what you saw in 2023, expect in 2024, just by what is happening. So this means that Nigerians should be ready to tighten their belts, like you just said, whether they're cutting down their expenses or they're growing their income. And I like the fact that you use the word grow. So how can Nigerians cultivate, grow, incubate that money to be able to keep up with inflation or go above inflation? What are some low-hanging fruits that Nigerians can start doing from today? We're still in the first week of the new year.
Yeah, it varies from person to person. Typically, we always say, at Money Africa that it's to be very practical. You have to be very realistic about your finances, right? Also, you have to be very realistic about your income and the quality of opportunities that you have as, an individual. If you don't have a lot of opportunities in whatever sector you are, you're working in, then the priority this year should be to ensure that you maybe acquire the knowledge or the skill that will open up more opportunities, to you, whether in bigger cities or even outside, Nigeria. We have a lot of people who are freelancing, at the moment. Another very practical thing to notice that it's always easier to manage expenses than it is to grow income. You can plan and say, maybe by June I'll get a promotion at work, but you don't know for sure that is going to happen. And so you can't spend on the basis of an income that you're anticipating later in the year that might not, become a reality. Exactly. And so that is why you have to have a strong handle on your expenses, right? Then work harder to ensure that you're able to expand the opportunities available to you and grow your income. You asked for, low-hanging opportunities, and, we sometimes talk about how it is important for people to have, multiple streams of income. And one of the things we say also is that if you're in a job that is, say, paying a minimum wage, for instance, of like 30,000 naira, multiple streams of income might probably not move a lot of the needle for you. What you need is really to maybe concentrate on acquiring a skill over, say, 3 months to access opportunities that can double your income or triple your income. So it's not just in, you don't want to overstretch yourself because you still want to be able to have time for leisure, to take care of your family and to be there for things and people that matter, right? So for us, we think priority is ensuring that you just develop yourself more to And also, if you're someone who is a professional already, who has a lot of skills, then now is the time to think about how can I creatively tap into, my existing knowledge. Should I,
maybe
introducing
create a course, or
course on cooking, for instance, because I'm a fantastic chef, or do I have just a new way of, say you're very good at sourcing items for people, and you put that into a course, or you're just teaching that. Do you want to write a book? Do you want to write a podcast? Do you want to start a podcast or something? So if you have an existing skill that is very marketable and in demand, then this is time to put it to use.
And ask
very valuable
yourselves how you can maybe create value with that same skill. Now, I want us to look at savings, because for people who are risk averse, the easiest thing is to leave money in their account. And I know you've said grow income. Now, when you're saving in Naira, inflation is happening. The Naira is being devalued every day. And you're almost looking at, the purchasing power I had in January 2023 is not the same purchasing power in January 2024. So are you of the opinion that Nigerians shouldn't save in Naira? Nigerians should find ways to earn foreign currency and save in foreign currency to hedge against inflation?
It can be both. So it depends on your priorities. If, for instance, if I live in the country, I live in Nigeria, and my rent is in Naira, then I want to save for it in Naira, right? If I have Japa plans, like you mentioned, my Japa plan will probably be in pounds or in dollars, then I want to save that in the currency of, sort of the country I'm migrating to. So one of the ways to manage risk effectively is to ensure that you match your savings, the currency in which you're saving, to the currency of your obligation. So if you need money in dollars, save for it in dollars. If you need money in Naira, save for it in Naira. When you do it that way, movements in the exchange rates will not affect you. And you still be in a very comfortable position to achieve all your goals. Now, that said, we know that over the past couple of years, the Nigerian economy has faced a lot of challenges. Oil production has come down. Our oil exports have declined aggressively. And because of that, we're not earning enough FX as we used to. And the consequence of that is a depreciation in the Naira. So just last year alone, we saw over a 50% decline in the value of the Naira. And what that has made attractive to people, not just even to individuals, but for people running businesses and even the government, is to ensure that we are now a bit more creative about exporting, ensuring that we can earn in FX. Because when we start earning in FX, then, when you convert it into Naira, it becomes, a big amount of money. Of course, you can make the argument that, inflation is also running very high. But over time, it ensures that you are still able to maintain the quality of your life, the quality of your business, and also, ensuring that the standard of living in your family and your immediate environment is fine. So that's the advantage of ensuring that you have FX. Now, when it comes to also savings that are long-term in nature, sometimes maybe you're paying school fees in the next 3 months. That's a very short-term saving, right? But when it comes to maybe, I want to buy a property and I'm planning to buy it, say, over the next 5 years, then that is when you can start thinking of a superior currency like, dollars, because you're sure that over a long period of time, the dollar tends to appreciate over the Naira. But over just a week, over a month, over 6 months, anything can happen. And that is why you need to be disciplined to ensure that when you need money in dollars, save for it in dollars. When you need it in Naira, save for it in Naira. And that was one of the lessons that a lot of people learned last year
in 2023. So I know you're an investment analyst, and I want your opinion on all these agri-techs that have been popping up. So some of them are saying invest in 2 plots of land that were maybe cultivating maize, and over 6 months we're going to give you 40%, or invest in chickens, and over 1 year we're going to get 30%. And we've seen these agri-techs just pop up everywhere, and for some people who have invested, they've had stories, lots of stories, and there's almost that fear now in investing in some of these agri-tech products. Going into 2024, should we expect more of that? Should Nigerians how should Nigerians see this opportunity?
Okay, the fears are not unfounded. And what we typically say is also that when when things get difficult, a lot of investment schemes, a lot of Ponzi schemes come around. Now, I'm not saying agri-tech investment platforms are fraudulent, but it's important to be very, very careful because a lot of those schemes started around 2016, 2017, and the majority of them defaulted. Investors gave them money and they could not return that money. Why? It is because, forget tech, agriculture is agriculture, and agriculture is fundamentally risky, especially in Nigeria. Your farmland can be flooded. There could be insecurity where you have herdsmen, bringing their cows to graze on your land. Then there's, a lot of also farmers getting murdered and all those things. So agric is very, very risky. So even if the promoters of those platforms have the best intentions, right, you as an investor need to realize the risk that there's a chance that I might not get my capital back, not to mention returns, right? And so you want to ensure that even if you want to take advantage of those opportunities, you should not allocate too much of your money to it. So if I have 100,000 naira to invest, I wouldn't give the entire 100,000 naira to an agri-tech investment. I might say, okay, I shouldn't use more than 10% of my portfolio, which is 10,000 naira, for this investment. Why? Because I realize that it's risky. And if something goes wrong, it could be very, very damaging for my finances. So that's one way to treat risky investment. Reduce your exposure so that if anything goes wrong, you're protected. Also, another thing that is very critical is before you start doing investment in anything risky, which is, buying stocks or doing real estate, ensure that you have emergency funds, which is money that you just put aside to protect you and your family, so that even if no money comes in a month, right, you are still, okay, and you're fine. More importantly, a way to think about how to invest your money is to look at what the government is paying investors. So if you just put it on Google, Nigerian Treasury Bill, 364-day rates, it will tell you what the Nigerian government gives to investors over 1 year. Currently, it is less than 15%. So if any platform is offering you, that is in a year, less than 15% for a year. So if any platform is offering you 40% for 6 months, we have 2 6 months in a year, that's 80% in a year. The question you should ask is, how are you going to make that money?
When the government is not even able to do 15%. And I think on that note, we'll bring this segment to an end and the show. Thank you for all your contributions, Adedayo Bakare. Thank you. And that's where we'll close the show today. Remember to have that emergency fund going into 2024. My name is Isabella Adediji. Do have a great afternoon. Goodbye. Don't just stand there teasing me. Now it's time.